Hello, my name is Wes Jones, and I'm doing a little series here on how to take a fantasy map from the very beginning, so nothing, all the way through to a finished product, what you basically see here on the screen. I have done 13 previous episodes. This is episode, it's hard to believe, but it's episode 14. I'm basically done. I just want to deal with this city right here. I'm going to show you how I want to hide it. I've gone through world building, I've drawn the mountains, stylized ice, the ocean, everything. The last step is to hide this city. We're going to call this episode In the Clouds. Alright, here we go. We can turn off this layer. We'll zoom out a bit just to take a look at the map as a whole. Last episode we put in this fairly modern looking border, which, coming back to it, still think it works alright. It's always good to take a break from your map or product or drawing if you can. You come back with fresh eyes. Sometimes you love it, sometimes you're like, I need to change that. In this case, I think it works well enough. Now, if you remember the world building, I wanted something catastrophic to have happened in this area. Maybe that was a larger island. You can see how I designed the coastline so that it looks like maybe there was an explosion or something. Now, there is a city here, but as part of the world building, I want all these other civilizations not to really know that this one exists. So I want to hide it. And the way I thought I'd go about hiding it is with clouds. Let's just change this to white. You have to decide. Now with clouds, I really like drawing clouds. If I've got a chance to draw them on a map, I will, or on anything actually. But you do have to consider the style of the cloud, and it has to match the map, obviously. I just drew clouds like this around. You can't see it very well over here. It's not something you have to pay attention to. But does it look alright? I would argue that one doesn't fit the style of the map all that well. Let's undo those. So what I'm going to do is, I think, given the nature of this, I want some kind of cloud system that swirls. Gives it the appearance of maybe magic to a degree. I have to play with the pen that I want to use. I'll probably give it an outline to match the land style that I established. I think one of the reasons this type of cloud right now I'm sketching in doesn't work is because it doesn't have an outline. Everything else of consequence has an outline. But if I did something like this, I think that'll do a good job of giving interest to the area, but also hiding that. And I have to decide how much I want to hide that name. Maybe basically completely. I think this will work. What I'll do is I'll speed through this and I'll narrate as I go. On your marks, get set, goat. I'm so funny. On your marks, get set, go. You want to know something funny? Remember how much I struggled with the border in the last video? I just couldn't really get it the way I wanted. I almost had the exact reverse happen to me in this video when I was trying to come up with this clouds. When I made that sketch transparent and pushed it into the background, immediately I looked at it and I said, that's the direction I want to go. I wasn't planning to go in that direction, but it just looked right to me. I drew the outline in white here. I tried brown again, it didn't work. I learned my lesson quickly that way and didn't do brown. Here I'm drawing details, but you can see I've got that transparent look to the clouds. I just think it works for this map. Now I'm putting in the details, making it look cloudy, but I wanted a little bit of a magic to that cloud. There I could see the label too much, so I pushed it into the background. Adjusted the transparency a little bit again. The white on the background, the white on the rim was too strong. And then I added in some levels of shadowing and shading. Do the whites first, which I typically don't do. I usually start from dark. I'm not sure why I did that. But yeah, I tried something different with it. And then the darks. And then I thought that it needed a little bit of help just standing out. And so I put a little bit of a shadow underneath the cloud. On the whole, I'm really quite happy with it. Maybe one last thing worth mentioning, since I'm basically at the end, is layer management is an important thing. I've learned this the hard way, having to go back through hundreds of layers. Like, look at this document. There's so many, and so many of them I didn't use. You don't want to get rid of those temporary ones when you're doing it, but at the end, they're just not necessary. I'm not saying I'm perfect at this by no means, but I do typically now label things in a way that makes sense so that I can zoom through pretty quickly. You save yourself so much time doing that. Anyway, that's just a little housekeeping that at the very end of the project's worth doing. It's actually also worth taking notes on something that you've done that's unique at the end, because you'll probably forget it if you don't do that. Well, that's the end of this video. End of episode, what are we, episode 14 in the clouds. We have one video left, ending at episode 15, Le Fini. Basically, it's going to be a time lapse of the whole process, and at the end of it, I've got a little surprise. Oh, look at that for a cliffhanger. Okay, until next time.